where you are now is exactly where your soul wanted you to be. And there's always a higher purpose for that. Hello and welcome to the Soul Awakening podcast. I'm your host, Kat Fowler, and I'm excited to talk to you today about soul blueprints. This was something that has been coming up in my awareness this whole week. Like, talk about this, talk about this, talk about this. And I really think it's because a lot of us are going through these major life changes, which we maybe do not understand and might have some negative emotions or feelings around what's occurring. So I wanted to share with you just a little bit about my understanding of soul blueprints through the lens of my work in the Akashic Records and what I have seen. And also just I'll share a little bit of my personal story with that. So in particular, I have seen within the records that every single person on this planet has their very own, very individualistic soul blueprint, meaning that their soul prior to incarnating, sitting with a team of trusted advisors, we could say, came up with the life plan, the blueprint, the fated events, the relationships karmically, their dharma, their duty in life, their purpose, all the things that were going to occur prior to incarnating. Also, there is karma. So, all of the accumulated actions from our previous lifetimes, that also comes into play where we have to work that out. A lot of the times we do have the choice of how much we can take on. A lot of the times, many of us older souls take on a little too much. And then that's why we feel like, oh my gosh, when do these lessons end? I just feel like it's nonstop. You're probably one of those people that has, as a soul prior to incarnating, decided to take on quite a lot, to complete a lot of karma, to finish out the lessons. And why? What's the point? It's just to pay off a debt? Yes. And it's also to spiritually grow, to spiritually learn. I really do believe our every human's life purpose outside of their own individual dharma or duty in this lifetime is to grow and spiritually evolve and to get in touch with their soul and eventually reach the divinity within, the God within, our soul within, through whatever means or path they have desired to do that in. And that's why we're talking about blueprints, because every single one of us has a different blueprint. And I think sometimes, depending on how you were raised, where you came from, we can have preconceived notions around what is, quote unquote, the right way to do things and what is the wrong path, according to either how we were raised, what society has told us is the right timeline and path to follow, what our parents may have told us, what our friends and family and close circle may have said. And what I've learned is that a lot of these societal conditioning programs of you're supposed to do this at this age, then you graduate, then you get married, you work for a few years, then you have a kid, then you have another kid, then you save up, then you retire, then yeah. So that whole plan, I know it varies across the world, but at least speaking from an American perspective, um, is not everybody's blueprint at all. And what I found, especially within my work within the records, is when we deviate from that because we're supposed to, and we're not supposed to be on this cookie cutter white picket fence timeline, that we're told is the right way to go. There could be a lot of shame around that and a lot of feelings of failure or feelings of isolation or feelings of guilt or whatever, because maybe you're at a certain age and you have not achieved some of these markers that society says you're supposed to achieve at this certain time, at this part, of your life. Um, and that's not for everybody. Now, so many of us have so many different blueprints. According to our spiritual energy, that will work for us. What I've noticed too, working within the records, is whether someone is male or female, physically, your spirit can be completely different. You can have a very masculine spiritual energy meaning like at the very end of a session, I'll see someone's spiritual energy if they choose, so they can really get a sense of who they really are. It's always a very empowering moment. A lot of times it can even bring people to tears because it's just such a confirmation of like, this is who you really are. And it's really what their guides and the records and how the Akashic Records perceives them. It's always very, very powerful. But a lot of the times it doesn't always match the cover. The book doesn't always match the cover. So it doesn't always match the exterior of what a person will present, which I find always very interesting. Um, and why is that important? Because a lot of times, whether it's through gender roles, whether it's through our sexuality, being straight, gay, any of the above, our religious affiliations, sometimes we can hold a lot of shame around our life choices and where we are. And what I've noticed a lot too with everything going on financially in the world, with everything going on politically in the world, that there are a lot of shakeups with jobs, with money, especially within the United States, but globally as well. And due to that, that has changed a lot of people's living situations, marriages, family dynamics, and all of that. And I've found that when certain people come to me that are going either through a divorce or just passing through a divorce, or maybe they had to move back in with their parents, or maybe they had to downsize or bring in a parent to help raise their kids because things have been challenging. Whatever the situation is, sometimes there's a lot of shame around that because of this, like I said, the societal programming of there is you go here, you go to this school, then you go to that school, then you get your specialty, you graduate, then you start working, then you find your partner, then you get married, then you have kids, then you have second kid, 2.5 kids. And then you keep working, you achieve milestones, you take vacations, you save up, your 401k, blah, 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 you retire. Okay, so because of this, like whatever imposed blueprint of especially American society, and a lot of times when we have these deviations, we can feel a lot of negative emotions around them. And what I found in every single session I've done is that where the person is exactly where they're meant to be. Meaning, so if you're listening and you're in any of these positions where you're just like, it wasn't supposed to be like this, like I'm supposed to still be in this marriage with this person, or it's not supposed to be that way. I'm supposed to be living like this. I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to, yes, it's quite possible that it potentially where you feel you should be living, where you feel you should be, is somewhere that maybe you will be in the near future or in the distant future, according to your internal desires, your effort, your intention, and your actions to manifest that. How, and your really fate too. But where you are now is exactly where your soul wanted you to be. And there's always a higher purpose for that. In particular, just bringing up divorces. Sometimes a lot of people will come to me and they'll be like, what is the soul contract between me and this person, my husband? And we can find out, for the most part, what was planned prior to birth. And I want to really stress that these are plans and not everything goes to plan when we're down here, right? Like we have plans. That's why, like in palmistry, when people read your palms, you usually have two very different lines, two different, very different patterns on each palm because one they say is like what you planned before birth, and then the other hand is how you lived it. And we're humans. We take deviations. We decide certain things are more important or less important, and we decide to take different paths. So that's why we have like the big differences in the hands that can occur. And so a lot of times, like in the case of relationships, marriages in particular, and divorces, yes, usually it is always, I haven't seen one time that it hasn't been planned that you are going to marry this person. So you guys, prior to incarnating, planned this, you knew it. It was in the contract, yes. However, there are also certain things in the contract that say, in order for this to continue, A, B, C, D, whatever, will be fulfilled on my part. A, B, C, D, blah, 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 will be fulfilled on your part, meaning we did this prior to coming in. Meaning, I will be this to you, that to you. I will make sure I'm taking care of myself. I'm doing X, Y, Z. And then the other person has their own obligation fulfillment. A lot of times, like whatever we do physically in this world, it's because it's already happening spiritually and we're just anchoring it down. So that's why I think weddings are so special and vows in particular, because like a vow is something that is so powerful that it can affect us for many lifetimes. So that's why like sometimes I watch a lot of marriage and reality and dating shows. Like I just love watching the psychology between couples and things like that. But a lot of times I'll notice like if someone's getting married and or getting engaged and someone's like, will you marry me? And they're like, yes, this lifetime and every other one. I'm like, no, no, no. Don't do that. You don't know what your soul really wants. Uh, you're just very hyped up in the emotional expression of your joy, and maybe don't make a vow that's very intense. Um, Also, like in particular, a lot of times when I'm working with people, we can have some vows that we've taken in past lives that can actually really affect us until we break them. Like, for example, one is celibacy. I've seen that a lot. If you were a monk or a nun in a past life, and in this life you are not, you may have, and you made very serious vows in that life saying, I will be this, I will be that. You might be dealing with that in this life where you're just like, why am I not interested in this? And I'm not saying on a physiological, biological, scientific level, like if your health is good, your hormones are well, everything is physically functioning, like you're like, why do I not have any interest in relationships right now? At all. And it could very well be that you might have a vow that you've taken in a previous life that in this life is still in your field. It's still in your aura. It's still in your soul energy, and it needs to be released. Otherwise, you're still living it until you get rid of it. So that can happen. That's a little bit of a tangent, but in particular with marriages and when they shift, people can only meet when they're both in the right aligned frequency for each other, meaning person A has done enough spiritual work to get to that place in their life where they are now energetically and physically ready to meet person B, and it's the same thing vice versa. Then they get married. And what I've typically found is one person is holding up their end of the bargain, is continuing on their spiritual path, is very deeply working on themselves, working not only on themselves, a lot of time, especially because I mainly work with women, they're doing overtime and they're working and doing the emotional work and labor for the partner, the husband. And they get to the point where they just are exhausted and they're like, this is so bringing me down. Like, cannot keep doing this. Like, what is going on? I have this soul contract. I feel like this person's my soulmate, my partner, my husband. I love them so dearly, but it's just we are not aligning. Like, this is not working. And so, what can happen in particular with blueprints like that is one person is really not holding up their end of the bargain, the deal. And it comes to the point, and it's usually very painful, but where the person who is has to make the choice where they really have to decide what is more important to me, my own well being, my health, my mental health, my energy, or maintaining something that is really no longer facilitating any kind of growth or love between the two of us. And then that's when usually, they'll start asking certain questions about that. Why I bring this up is because, yes, we have blueprints, but they're blueprints and plans. And then we come in and then things can change because we may set all these things up, but our life blueprints involve so many other people. Think about not just marriages. This is like the marriage is a very intense connection, but your bosses, your coworkers, your colleagues, your friends, your best friends, your cousins, your family members, like there's so much that is intertwined and that goes into the manifestation or the lack of manifestation of particular outcomes in your life. It really does depend so much on you, but then there are also other influences with other people. And so, in particular, in the case of like divorce and things like that, I think a lot of times we can have the shame around, like, oh, well, we're supposed to, when we say our vows, it's supposed to be for the rest of our life and this and that. But it really is something that comes down to if the person is continuing on their spiritual growth. Because, like I said, I do really believe the main purpose of every person's life is to grow and evolve their soul, to get to know their soul better, and to eventually become in touch with God within, that little seed of God within the heart within, and then let that manifest and move out of this dual yin yang, white, black, right, wrong, light, dark, like all of that, and then into the non-duality, which is the truth, the soul within. And whether that manifests through a relationship or whether it manifests through uh, different plans, that's how it works. Something else I did want to bring up is just also this concept that, especially if you were raised in a very religious context, or if even you weren't, but let's just say you're exploring different paths, you're checking out all different paths, right? Like you feel like you're getting called to a deeper spirituality, so you're just seeing different opportunities. You're going to different temples, different ashrams, different churches, different healing communities, whatever it may be. The more dogmatic and religious the place, usually the more they will really firmly believe that it is them and only them and their way, and only through their way can you reach God within. And I'm really here to say yes, through that path, I'm sure there you can reach God within, but you can also do it through the other religious path. You can also do it through the spiritual path that maybe isn't through a religion. You can also do it through partnership. You can also do it through hobbies, through a love for yourself, through many different things. There are many different blueprints that each of us have towards that one same goal that we all, whether we consciously know it or not, are heading towards. And so, especially when we are exploring our spirituality, and you might find a path that is amazing and works for you, and it's just boom, everything clicks and you're on it. But maybe the next person, your own family member, whoever, that absolutely does not work for them, and that is okay. And I really do feel like we need to release the stigma and notion of it is only through this one path, or this only through this one guru, or this one deity, or this one messiah, or this one teacher, or these one mantras, or these one meditation techniques, or whatever it may be, that you can reach God, because it's all of them. And each person has their own blueprint and path. And something else I really want to talk about is just that releasing the shame. And something that I can really deeply confirm for myself, and this from for others, is that, like, I know as women in particular, especially for you guys listening, there's all this pressure and feeling of like, you're a woman, you biologically can, so you should have kids. That's the main purpose of us being a woman on this earth. And I'm really here to tell you that is not every woman's main purpose on this earth. Not every woman is meant to have kids. I can tell you from my own personal experience as someone in their mid late 30s, I never wanted to have kids once, literally ever. And I always at first was thinking something was like wrong with me, because I had friends in their early 20s that were like, I want two kids. I know I want two girls. I want this. I want that, whatever, which is great. And that's for them. But I never had that urge ever. And I was like, what's going on? Is it just me? Is it like the trauma? Is it, whatever? And so, then I started to go on my own records. I got readings from people. And then also I checked out my own astrology. And that was hilarious, because even within my own astrology chart, the house that represents children is empty. So I remember asking one particular astrologer about that. What does that mean? I never wanted kids, but what does that mean? And they were saying it means you either are not meant to have children in this lifetime, or it means that they won't play a significant role in your life. And usually what it means is that you will have the maternal kind of role in your life, but maybe with your students or your clients in an area that's different, like your career. And with my chart, that is what everything looks like. So to me, it was just like, okay, these are two separate sciences. Like, there's astrology, and then there's the Akashic Records, my own, that I've went into and also had a reading done, where everything is telling me that what I'm feeling is right for me. It wasn't a trauma response. It wasn't this and that. It's just I genuinely knew as a soul forever that I just on in this incarnation that I did not want to have children. And then it was confirmed through separate astrologers, and it was confirmed through separate readings, and then my own readings. And then I released a lot of the negative feelings that I had towards being like, or also like not only negative feelings of like guilt or shame, but also like FOMO, like fear of missing out. Like there's that, you're just like, oh, am I supposed to because I'm this age and in this body? Like, is that something I'm supposed to be doing? And then I'm gonna, especially if you look online now, the crazy propaganda that's online around this stuff, around like, oh, you're gonna miss out, or oh, this and that. No. But separately, I do want to say there are those women that is their divine blueprint. That is their life purpose. Having kids is what brings them closer to divinity. That is where their spiritual growth is. And that is perfect in the same way that a woman not wanting kids and not having kids is also perfect. It's not a failure because society says do this, this, and that. And it's literally when you see someone's records, when you see their astrological chart, it's in the chart. It's written prior to them incarnating. It's in their records. Also, what I found is a lot of the time, someone already did that. Whatever it is that you are not really attracted to in this life. Let's just say, like, you don't want kids. This is the example we're going with. A lot of times you were a mother for many potentially many lifetimes already. You've done that. You don't need to do it again. You have different avenues now that your soul wants to explore. Or, like, let's just say, being a renunciate, a swami, a monk, or whatever, like maybe you just don't have that desire. Only if you do, obviously. But maybe you've done that. Maybe it's something you've already done, and now you're like, I want to do the householder life path where I'm going to explore navigating this human world and its all of its intricacies and difficulties without giving up the material life. So, what I mean to say is that there's no right or wrong blueprint. And wherever you are in life, it is exactly where you're meant to be. And even especially when I work with people that have maybe had to shift their lifestyle due to financial issues or move back in with parents or take care of aging parents or whatever it may be, a lot of that's happening to people in my age group, and millennials in particular, with just the financial situation and the age of our parents and things like that. A lot of times people will feel like that's a failure. And I can't tell you how many sessions I've done very recently where they are like, this is not a failure. This is exactly where you're supposed to be. And because you have to learn XYZ lesson with this person, this your dad, and this thing with your mom, or this thing with your sibling, or whoever it is that you are cohabitating with. There's so much karma between people when they especially are living together, are in relationship, obviously. But there's a purpose. And a lot of times when that comes through in a session where not only do you hear, because yeah, you can hear, okay, yeah, I'm meant to be here and it doesn't maybe land. But if you hear like, no, your soul wanted you at this age in this older place in your life to come back and return to these same lessons, to complete them or to finish off any lasting negativity so you can move to the next level of your life. When you learn that, then you release the like, oh, I need to hide this. I feel shameful about it, whatever. And you're like, oh, it's all part of the divine plan. This was all part of the plan. And even though I felt like maybe I took some actions that brought me into this place that I didn't love, or I didn't listen to myself, or whatever it may be, it got me where I was supposed to be, which is exactly where I am right now. I know this sounds kind of philosophical, but I did feel like it was important for me to share. Not only because of obviously my work in the records, but I feel like so many of us are going through that. The majority of my audience is millennials and women in particular. And so I also kind of am just sharing from what I see in session work, like the patterns that I see when I'll see a lot of people going through the same thing. That's when I do feel like it's important to share, because I can't tell you how many times when I do a session and I share with them, like, you wouldn't believe how many other people are going through this. They're like, what? Because nobody's really sharing that online, and Instagram and everything is like the highlight reels, right? So it's only like the very positive achievements and things like that. So when you hear that so many people are going through these major shifts, but it's beyond the financial aspect, it's beyond relational aspects, societal things going on. It is because your soul wanted you at this time of your spiritual development to go through particular lessons with particular people so you can master them, because that's really what it is. You're getting to a point of mastery of a particular lesson, especially if you are returning back to a relationship, like a family relationship or a hometown or whatever, and you are going back to that. It is because your soul is like, okay, we did this. We didn't fully work it out. We did, but we like want to just get the last little piece in. Let's do it. And that's why a lot of people are where they are, where they're maybe navigating a divorce. They're maybe navigating living with, like I said, a parent or taking care of parents or living with their home family or whatever. So I wanted to share all that. I felt that that was important to get out, just to talk a little bit about our life blueprints and how we do have them. And but things happen. We're human. Things can change. We can make choices. But eventually, it's kind of like GPS when you have a destination, and let's just say you like weren't paying attention and you missed the exit, and now you're like two exits away from where you're supposed to be. Eventually, you'll get off the next exit, your GPS will reroute. It might be a little bit of a longer lesson, the scenic route. It may be taking you on a detour you didn't really like. Maybe you're in a neighborhood you don't like, whatever. Maybe you're in a great neighborhood, who knows? But eventually you're going to reroute and you're going to get to that destination that you put in the first place. And so that's really how the blueprints work. And I really more wanted to just share what I was seeing so that we can release any feelings of negativity that we may be holding around our current circumstances, and just to really have the understanding and knowing that you are exactly where you're meant to be. You're doing exactly what is right for you right now. And if you really feel like you're not, then obviously you have the ability to contemplate, meditate, and reroute and just get off the next exit and reroute. Um, so I hope that this helped everyone. I hope that some of the particular examples helped with whoever's going through that in particular, whether it's navigating relationship changes, divorces, moves, big moves, job losses, new businesses where you're just starting. I feel like there's so much of that happening. There's like a major transition phase happening right now. And I'm finding so many of my clients are really going through these major things right now. And all I could say is like when I work in the records, it's just so amazing how there's so much growth and beautiful spiritual lessons and learning that we can extract from every situation that we're in, that we were meant to be in. And that's why, but if we can just take a second to lift ourselves up beyond the heaviness of the emotions and the human experience that we're having, and really remember like what is the real purpose of this? Like, why would I be called to live like this right now? What potentially am I learning from this relationship that I'm in or that I'm leaving or the people I'm surrounded with or the loss of money or the gain of money or the change of jobs or whatever big transition you're going through? Because so many of us are going through it all. We're just not really, you're not hearing a lot of that online, but I can tell you from my sessions that's happening to a lot of people. So hopefully this helped you a lot, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. So make sure to subscribe to the Soul Awakening podcast. When you subscribe, you'll be notified of all of our new episodes and interviews. And we're also on YouTube, so you can watch all of this online at youtube.com/at cat_Fowler. That'll be in the show notes. And as a gift for those of you who got this far, you can get 10% off your very first Akashic Records reading with me with the code SOULPOD, SOULPOD. And so if you love the information that you heard today and it sparked something in you, feel free to share this with your friends and family as well, or especially any of you listening that are going through it, or you know of a friend or someone close to you in your life that's going through these major changes. Please do share with them. Hopefully that will alleviate some of the struggle and give them some peace and solace around what they're going through. So I'm your host, Kat Fowler, and thank you again for listening. I'm wishing you lots of peace and acceptance and radical acceptance of your current situation and lots of self-love for the rest of your day and week. And I will see you on the next episode.